Welcome to my How Healthy Are You weekly educational podcast. My name is Dr. Thomas Brewer. I'm a PhD chemist and nutritional blood microscopist. This podcast is number 98, and it is August 23rd, 2021. I'm going to start the podcast with a little bit of feedback that I got from last week's podcast, and the topic for this week's podcast is going to be about eggs. So last week I talked about viruses and what I saw, a little bit about what I saw of the two vaccines under the microscope. The questions were about the dosages. I had given a fairly high dosage for zinc and vitamin D. You have to remember the dosages I provided were if you have COVID-19 or any other flu virus. They're not maintenance dosages. So zinc dosages you can get right off a zinc vitamin or mineral supplement bottle, and the same is true with the vitamin D. Typically, I believe I even said this, 2,000 to 5,000 IUs of vitamin D, somewhere in there, is going to be good on a daily basis. Some people need more, some people need less. It's just a rule of thumb. Also, it is always best to start improving your immune system now, meaning before you catch the current virus that's going around or any future virus that is going to be going around. You want to improve your immune system now. So that includes the zinc and the vitamin D and the Steromax and the citrus for vitamin C and Brazil nuts for selenium. So keep that in mind. Now, finally, I did see some work from another PhD out of San Diego that verified the results I saw when I analyzed the vaccines under a dark field microscope. And this gentleman also provided even more detail, but it was nice to get some verification. Bottom line is, a lot of the stuff you're hearing is true, without going into too much detail. Okay, so the topic for today's podcast is about eggs. And eggs are a very, very nutritious and good food. I'm sure the farmers out there will appreciate this podcast. You're going to hear a lot of competing information about how eggs are bad, and then how they're good, and then how they're bad. So I want to set the record straight. They are good, but I'm going to go into why they're so good. The main advantage of eggs is they have the highest anabolic effect of any protein source. So an anabolic effect means the protein in the eggs, and there's about 6 grams of protein per egg. That protein is very efficient, and it turns into lean body tissue. So it doesn't matter how much protein you consume. What really matters is how efficiently that protein turns to lean body tissue. Whether you just want healthy skin and organs and you don't want a lot of fat on your body, or whether you're building muscle, it doesn't matter. The quality of the protein is what's important, not the quantity. So if we look at eggs, 48% of the protein in an egg, that's 6 grams of protein, 48% actually turns into lean body tissue. That is absolutely amazing. Now, if we look at meat or fish, which is right behind it, it's 32%. So roughly a third of the protein in meat and fish, so that would be beef and chicken and lamb and pork and of course all the various types of fish. If I average it all, it's about 1/3 efficient. So eggs are closer to 1/2 efficiency. Now, here's the interesting fact that a lot of people get wrong, and this is probably one of the most important points to learn from this podcast. A lot of people eat egg whites thinking that is the way to get their protein. but the anabolic effect from egg whites is only 17%. So the whole egg is 48%, egg whites by themselves, 17% conversion into lean body tissue protein. That's awful. The point here is you need the cholesterol and the fat from the yolk so that you get good protein utilization, which means stop eating egg whites. Eat the whole egg. Now, egg whites are just as bad as soy. And now I talked about soy last week. In fact, I talked about it in the newsletter. So I had an article about soy protein being really the worst protein source out there. Well, the conversion rate for soy is the exact same as egg whites, 17%. Not good. So for those of you that think you're doing your body a favor by consuming egg whites and thinking you're getting good protein utilization, similar to eggs, you're not. It's a huge drop from 48% to 17%. Now, even worse than just egg whites and soy, but very close, 16% conversion is dairy and whey. So most of the protein supplements out there, a lot of the protein powders are whey, such as whey protein isolate, and that is considered the best. It's considered at least very good. It's very common, but the utilization is only 16%. Now think about that, folks. That is extremely inefficient. It's an inefficient protein source. So getting your protein from milk and cheese and cream and any whey source is not efficient. You want to get your protein from eggs, and I recommend 1 to 4 eggs per day. And think about it, only 4 eggs would be 24 grams of protein, so you're going to need other protein sources. But it's a very good protein source. Now, lowest protein conversion into lean body tissue, the anabolic effect for spirulina, 6%. Horrible, not a good protein source. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to mention about the anabolic effect. The next thing, I'm sure you're all thinking this, is that eggs increase your cholesterol. So let's set the record straight. There is absolutely zero data that eggs increase your LDL, which stands for low-density lipoprotein. Dr. Oz calls it lousy cholesterol, the L standing for lousy instead of low density. Anyway, no data that eggs increase your bad cholesterol number, the LDL. Now, what they do increase is the good cholesterol, which is known as HDL. In fact, you want your HDL to be high, and wherever it is, it would be better if it was higher. So high HDL is heart healthy, which means eggs are heart healthy. They do not increase your LDL. If you're one of those people out there that has high LDL and low HDL, meaning your ratios are off, you really want a lot of HDL. You want to keep your LDL number typically around 100 or less. But if you have an HDL of around 30 or so, and perhaps an LDL at 120, that means your LDL is 4 times your HDL. The bad cholesterol is 4 times your good cholesterol. Eat more eggs so you can raise your HDL. Now, the other thing about eggs is they are full of nutrients. In fact, they have pretty much every vitamin and mineral known except vitamin C. And you can get your vitamin C from whole citrus. So not from juice, but eating the whole citrus, like eating the whole orange. They also have a choline, which is very good for not getting a fatty liver. So choline is known to prevent fatty liver and fatty liver disease, which I notice a lot of people are starting to show up with liver issues when I look at their blood. Also, eggs have carotenoids, which are really great for your eyes. Now, finally, the fats. So the fats in eggs are DHA and EPA. So these are the omega-3 fatty acids that you normally buy out there. And of course, eggs don't have enough DHA and EPA to match what you would get in a high-quality pharmaceutical purity fish oil, but they do have them. And so eggs are a very, very nutritious food and very efficient at converting the protein in the egg into lean body tissue. And a lot of people don't realize that egg whites are not the way to go. You want to eat the whole egg. The other thing you want to do is get high-quality eggs, and you can see there's a little price increase when you get the higher quality eggs all the way up to organic, but get a little higher quality egg, especially if you can afford it. And remember, there's no data that eggs increase your bad cholesterol. So that's what I have for today's podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, please don't keep me a secret.